Hello everybody, it's Kimberly Sheridan from Losing It with Kimberly. Glad you're joining me today. I'm back on the treadmill. Like I said, I won't always be on the treadmill, but for the time being, that's where I am. You know, I think if I do end up running again, obviously I can't make a good audio recording when I'm just getting back into running, and probably not once I'm fully back into it either, because if I want to be challenged for my workout, I'm not going to be able to talk in a coherent way. So for now, you know, we've got the walking, we're on the treadmill. I do think about what it would be like in this program once I do start running. Probably what it would look like is me running first and then doing my chat with you afterward. Or, you know, maybe it would be doing my chat totally separate off the treadmill. Go figure. We'll see. You wouldn't have this nice background treadmill noise to go along with it. I could certainly add it, but I don't think that's, you know, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what everybody wants. Probably at that point, I'll just ask everybody to share their feedback and see what the majority of people want, you know, in terms of, you know, should I add a treadmill noise in the background? Maybe I can just do it on the treadmill anyway, even though that's not my workout for the day, you know? I'm not sure, but we're not even close to being there yet, I think. For now, I'm just walking on the treadmill for an hour a day, sharing a big chunk of that time with you and seeing where it takes us. I will say that, as you know, I'm not trying to lose weight right now. I'm not changing my food at all. If anything, I might even be eating more junk. You know, not a ton of junk, but enough not to lose weight. Obviously, I'm burning calories, you know, walking an hour on the treadmill that I hadn't been doing before. Now I'm somewhere in the 42-day range of having done this every day. You know, I've been using a standing desk for maybe a month, more than that even, for 8 hours a day, and I hadn't been doing that before, you know, so I'm clearly burning more calories and not losing weight, you know, but I haven't changed my food at all. So maybe I've been eating that much more junk food. I don't know. There's a little bit in my mind about the last hurrah, like before you start to cut back on your food. Maybe you give yourself a period of time where you go ahead and enjoy everything that you want to eat, thinking, well, I'm getting ready to have some big sacrifices coming, so might as well either eat everything else that's left in the house or buy things that you might not think that you're going to be able to have for a while, you know, whatever the case. So I'm not sure. I just know that mentally, in order to make a long-term and lasting change, you need to be ready to do it, right? You need to be willing to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to have the result that you want. And so I'm revving up to it. You know, I can see it coming. It will certainly be in this month, you know, that I go ahead and make that change. And as I mentioned, I think it was yesterday, my goal isn't to hit a certain weight this year, but it is affirming to me when I look at a body mass index chart that I can be in the normal weight range this year. That's really actually motivating for me to, you know, to make changes and stick with it, because I'll just be at the upper end if I make it, you know, which would take losing a pound a week. If I make it, I would be at the upper end of that range. You know, so that what that means, though, is that I have to be sort of diligent every week, right, about getting there. And like I've said in many recordings, you know, in the past 10 years, the times I've made changes to my diet have been very strict with it. I haven't necessarily lost the amount of weight that one should when you're eating that many calories. And so I can't predict what's going to happen. That's what makes this adventure so fun. Fun. Yeah. But I mean, I can't predict what's going to happen. And it is, people hate this saying, but it is what it is, right? You know, I have certain controls and certain I don't. So I'm going to control the things I can and seek medical intervention for the things that a doctor and or a prescription might be able to control, like a thyroid condition if I have one. And beyond that, I'm going to have to release the rest, right? I mean, if you can't control it, at some point you just got to let it go. So that's the plan for me. However, we're just revving up to it, right? We're just edging toward it. I'm not there yet. For now, just focused on getting these good habits in of walking on the treadmill an hour a day, standing and working at my standing desk 8 hours a day. And that standing includes the time I'm on the treadmill and the time I'm standing in the rest of my day, whether I'm working at my desk or not. So, washing dishes, cooking dinner, etc., taking a walk with my kids. But it's still 8 hours a day that I wasn't standing before. I'm sure I was standing a little bit, but I wasn't making a big effort to stand before, so I was sitting a lot because I work on the computer all day. So, water, ingesting my 24 ounces of water a day, taking my vitamins and supplements that I'd already been doing that one, but calcium, vitamin D, biotin, and fish oil. And fish oil gummies, because I'll tell you, one time in the past, I've not taken fish oil my whole life, but at some point, many years ago, say in my 30s, they started recommending fish oil, or I came across the information that fish oil was a good idea. And so I got those big capsules, and I'm terrible with taking pills. I don't know, I choked on a penny when I was in kindergarten. No, it wasn't a penny, it was a nickel. I choked on a nickel when I was in kindergarten, and I still remember the feeling of having it lodged in my throat. And so between that and having asthma attacks where I would just wake up in the middle of the night and couldn't breathe, and my mom would have to rush me to the hospital, I think somewhere in there probably there's a psychological fear of swallowing pills. So I can do it, with Advil or Excedrin or just regular sized pills. But once you get to those big old calcium pills, or in this case, a fish oil pill, I remember now why I took it. It was for depression. There was this book, and I don't think I ever got to actually read the whole thing, but a book that was recommended called The Mood Cure, that was about different supplements that you could take to try to treat your depression without going on prescribed medication. I think that was it. I probably still own the book, but I think I was so depressed. This was after babies. I think I was so depressed that I didn't read the book. But in any case, I did try to take fish oil. And anyway, the whole story here is that it dissolved in my mouth because I couldn't swallow it. It's a psychological thing. I have to hold a pill and go, okay, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to swallow it now. Okay, didn't do it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to swallow it now. Okay, I didn't do it. I mean, I've held just Excedrin in my mouth for 30 minutes before, just trying to psych myself into swallowing this pill. And that doesn't happen often with normal sized pills like Excedrin. But with this fish oil pill, it was giant. It was the size of what many of us know calcium to be, except I think even bigger. So it dissolved in my mouth, and it tasted like fish oil. There was definitely fish oil in this pill, and it was disgusting. So I now take gummies. I would like to read an article. I've seen things referencing that maybe gummies aren't as, obviously it's filled with sugar, but that maybe they're not as effective. There's no way I can swallow a fish oil pill though, so I'm not sure what other method I could get it. And the reason I've started taking them now is Alzheimer's, because when I look at I don't know about my grandfather's, what he ate. He was always very tall and very skinny and was a coal miner and, sharecropper. I mean, just, once the coal mine shut down, he did whatever he needed to do to earn money. But he was always very tall and very skinny, and did laborious work. Laborious? One of those two. Anyway, but I don't know how he ate. I'm sure, I know my grandmother used lard, so I don't know. The whole point being, he had Alzheimer's. Then many of his children, which would be my mother's siblings, many of them died from various causes before they reached 70. And around 70, I can't remember the math now, and it's not really clear exactly when Alzheimer's hits, right, because it eases in. So somewhere in their lower 70s is when my mom and my aunt got it. And, if you look at their lifestyle and you look at risk factors for Alzheimer's, they have none of those lifestyle risk factors. Like, they did everything right. And the only thing I can think of is that gives me hope. Number one, I've mentioned another day, what gives me hope is I do take a lot of traits after my father, so my fingers are crossed on that one. But the other thing is fish. Like, they didn't eat seafood, neither one of them. And so it hasn't made it a high enough priority, I guess, for me to start eating seafood, every week or whatever. And I like seafood, but I don't necessarily think of eating it all the time. So I probably need to do that and keep chewing these gummies. In any case, that was a really long way to say that I'm working on my daily rituals. I'm not running yet. I'm not changing my diet, but I am sticking with the things that I've committed to, that I've listed on my daily ritual chart. So I've got my 1 hour of the treadmill, my 8 hours of standing, most of that at my standing desk, some of it doing stuff around the house, my 24 ounces of water, my supplements, 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, and my very few weight exercises. So I told you yesterday that I've started adding a little bit on and doing supersets. So again, supersets are when you do exercises back to back, but you use different muscle groups so that you don't need a rest period in between. So in my case, I'm doing an arm exercise, then a leg exercise, then an arm exercise. That way, when I've done the first arm exercise, while my muscles are resting, my arm muscles are resting, during that time, instead of having this downtime, I'm filling that with a leg exercise. So my arm muscles are getting rest while I'm doing the leg exercise. Then I switch over to an arm exercise, and my leg muscles rest while I'm doing the arm exercise. And so in a normal workout that I've done in recent years, when I was going to the gym regularly, I really do favor supersets because you don't have any of this downtime of rest periods in between exercises. I have a tiny bit as I'm walking to the next machine or whatever, but it's probably 20 seconds, depending upon how I've laid out my workout. I am a bit of a dork in that I do take into consideration the position of the equipment in the gym as to what order I'll put things in, so that I don't have a lot of downtime between them. However, I also take into consideration the difficulty, so I do try to front load the exercises that are more difficult, because it's just mentally, I'm sure physically I get more tired, by the end, but also mentally, I just, in every area of my life, I like to get the bad stuff done first, That's just how I think. I want to get it over with. Some people push the bad stuff to the end, and you do whatever works for you, but I like to get the hard stuff done first. And so, I try to balance both of those things in terms of setting up a workout. But in any case, as you know, I'm working out at home now, not working out at the gym, but I can still do supersets. And I'm not trying to do a full workout routine yet because of time and motivation, I suppose. I do think, if I didn't have to make the money to support my household and I didn't have, well, really that would be it. So if you've removed work from my daily life or requirement to work a certain number of hours or accomplish certain goals in order to make money to, pay my bills and support my household, I probably would be working out a full routine now. So it's not fully that I don't have the motivation to do that. I think I probably would do that. And I would have that time to find my new music that goes with the workout that I was doing and, have it all perfect and neat and sweet. But for me right now, it just costs me something to do that. anytime I put into doing a weight workout, it's going to cost me something in terms of the time that I'm putting toward other things that need it. So for now, I'm sticking with this 3 exercise routine, which is I'm starting with the bicep curl shoulder press compound move that I've described on other days. Then yesterday, instead of doing lunges, I did the single leg deadlift that I have described on another day as well. And then I went into chest press, laying on the bench and holding the dumbbells at my chest level and pushing them up. Described that in more detail in the previous couple of days as well. So, so I'm doing an arm compound move, a leg move, then an arm move again. And that's all I'm doing. And I did find yesterday, I didn't know what I could do in the chest press because I haven't done it, for a while. But the last time I had done that at the gym, I was doing 20-pound dumbbells. And then I feel like maybe there was a day when someone had the 20-pound dumbbells and I did the 22.5, which at the gym, sometimes you can find those 0.5s. So there's sometimes a 17.5 and then that 22.5 to sort of give you somewhere to go to so you don't have to jump straight from 15s to 20s or 20s to 25s. So I think maybe at some point I was able to do the 22.5, capable of doing it, because somebody had the 20s. But I can't remember whether I did a whole set or not of those, so I really didn't know what I'd be able to do. Fortunately, I was able to do the 20s yesterday for the chest press, which surprised me, really. I didn't think I'd be able to. So I did that. So really, these 25-pounders that I ordered the other day, thinking that, that's for the future, not sure what exercise I'll be able to use them for. Maybe the chest press, because that's typically where I can, do the most in terms of upper body, the most weight. So it's looking like that's probably a possibility. I mean, it'll take a while, to get from 20s to 25s, but it's looking like that's a possibility. So the good news is that those shipped much faster than they said they would. So they're actually going to be here on, I'm trying to remember those. I think those might come on Monday. Now I'm starting to forget. Maybe those come tomorrow. Sort of doesn't matter because I'm not going to be ready for them Monday or tomorrow. But I'm excited. The same for you. You have to think about, I am sort of a dork when it comes to fitness. I do look at different types of equipment and go, oh, that looks fun, or whatever. Or, you could do this and that with those, and you might not experience that same sort of dorky funness about it, but there are things that, motivate each one of us that is different than what might motivate somebody else. I don't particularly get motivated by competition with others. In fact, I would almost say I don't get motivated at all by competition with others. But some people do, and so maybe it serves you well to, have a group that you report into where you're each saying what you accomplished that week or whatever, or one of these things where everybody's trying to lose weight and whoever loses the highest percentage wins the prize, I'm not saying that I won't run anything like that online, because I might one day actually run something like that online because people are motivated, by things like that. But I'm personally not motivated by things like that. But I am motivated, by my daily chart, my daily ritual chart. Not only does it keep me in line so I don't actually forget to do something, which I would truly, without this chart, I'd forget to do. Even, I think, what do I have, 6 or 7 daily commitments? Even those, I would just forget to do them half the time, more than half of the time, probably. I'd like to think it's not early Alzheimer's signs, because they do say there's signs in the brain, decades ahead of time. I'd like to think it's not that. My daughter has a terrible memory too, and she's 16, so hopefully it's just that we're not gifted with a beautiful memory. In any case, my daily ritual chart serves me well in terms of making sure I remember what I'm supposed to be doing. But the other thing is just filling in. As I've mentioned, I use a red pen and I do a smiley face for each day that I accomplish each item on the chart. And that to me is motivating. I check in with the chart throughout the day and then just fill in the smiley face for the things I've done so far. And then the things I haven't done, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that. Like with water yesterday. I don't know what time it was. It might have been 2 in the afternoon when I checked in and I added a couple smiley faces to things I had done. And then I was like, oh yeah, right, I haven't had any water. So I pulled out the water and I mentioned before that I'm using this big thing of Deer Park water that is 101.5 ounces. And so I have to drink, in order to hit my 24 ounces of water a day, I have to drink like a quarter of this thing. And yesterday it was half full. So when I looked at my chart, I remembered I needed to drink the water. I just visually put my finger at where the half full mark would be. And then I noted where on the label, where the water mark would need to be, on the label in order for me to accomplish that. And it was like, labels have designs on them. And this particular one had a little circular emblem. And so I realized that I needed to be at the bottom, the water level needed to be at the bottom of that little circular emblem. And so that's what I shot for. And then I just went ahead and kept drinking on that water in the next hour or so, until I had accomplished it. In between working and stuff, I just had it sitting nearby. And I put it, in this case, yesterday I mentioned that I sometimes have my Diet Coke and my water, so I don't feel like I'm making myself drink water and I can't have Diet Coke. I might have them both out and just take a sip of whatever one is calling me, and then on occasion say, okay, well, go ahead and do water this time just to keep working towards that. But yesterday, instead of that, I didn't have the Diet Coke out because I'd already had some because it was 2 o'clock. And I just, finished all my water in one, period of time, whether it was an hour or an hour and a half, I can't remember, but just finished all my water then before pulling out another Diet Coke. But in whatever case, however I accomplished it, I did it, and so I hope that as you're listening to me go through my process of adding things to my daily rituals chart, taking things off that didn't work. If you never listened back to the beginning recordings, I can't remember, but it was in some of the first recordings I talked about not using my cell phone in the morning until I got down to the treadmill and finished up on the treadmill. And that one didn't stick. The problem is, there's 2 things. I never committed to not using it in the middle of the night because I always wake up in the middle of the night in the best case scenario, after 6 hours of sleep, I'll wake up. So it'll be like 3 or so in the morning. And sometimes I try not to look at my phone, but if I'm laying there and I'm not going back to sleep, after about 15 minutes, I think, might as well listen to a podcast or something. And so then I'll put on a podcast, and then if I'm not going back to sleep after that, and have my light low on my phone, right? Try not to wake myself up. But if I'm not going to sleep after that, then I do start getting bored, and I'll pull out my pull on my glasses and just start going through my phone. I wasn't trying to eliminate that one. I was trying to eliminate the one in the morning. And the morning comes, the problem for me isn't, I need to see what's happened. I need to check in on social media, because I'm not, it's not a huge thing for me, social media. I use it, but it's just not, a big motivator for me to check in and see what's happened. But my problem is that I'm not, as I mentioned yesterday, I'm not ready to get up immediately after waking up like I used to when I was younger, when I was younger, I think, get up immediately. I'd wake up and go, okay, time to go. And now it's probably at least 30 minutes before I feel like getting out of the bed, Now, granted, my teenagers are the same way, but and I don't remember how I was as a teenager, and we didn't have cell phones then. So if you wanted to do anything, you had to get up. So I think circumstances are probably different. But I try to say, okay, I'm not going to use my cell phone between when I wake up, when I'm getting my coffee, when I'm getting on the treadmill. I can use it after. That change didn't stick. I chose to take it off the list. If something you try doesn't stick or isn't working for you, it doesn't mean that you failed to take it off the list. And it doesn't mean that you might not, add it back on later, or that you might not need to tweak it to make it workable. As I mentioned many times, the whole goal is to make reasonable goals that you can stick with consistently, even if they're micro or tiny, I tried this one, didn't work, I let it go. I may or may not put it back on there again. This is a long journey, hopefully, right? I mean, this is not the old, I'm going to lose 30 pounds before the summer, where I want to tone up, for a bathing suit. This is a lifetime, lifestyle, healthy living kind of program, because that's what I'm going for myself. Right, and so hopefully the people joining this, that's what they're aiming for. They're not focused so much on, I need to lose this many pounds by this date. Or else this might not, this probably wouldn't be the right program for them to be on, because that's not the focus. I do plan to lose weight, and I do want to lose weight, but it's not the only goal I have. It's not the measuring stick for whether I've been successful in leading a healthier lifestyle. I'm already leading a healthier lifestyle, and I've lost 0 pounds, right? Walking an hour a day when I wasn't walking before is leading a healthier lifestyle. Drinking 24 ounces of water a day that I wasn't drinking before is leading a healthier lifestyle. Standing 8 hours a day is leading a healthier lifestyle, right? So like you, hopefully, I'm already reaching and meeting. Put them together, they're meeting. I'm already reaching that goal, right? And then at some point, weight will be one aspect of that. It's like if you had one of those pie charts, and you divide it into various triangles to represent the different aspects of a healthier lifestyle. Weight is one of them, and it's important. I have mentioned the body mass index chart and never really got into the piece that I wanted to tell you. I got into some pieces I wanted to tell you, but I keep forgetting this one particular piece. And so I mentioned that I can still get into normal weight range. I mentioned that I can still get into normal weight range if I start cutting back on calories in the next couple of weeks. I can still reach normal weight range by the end of the year, calendar year. If I can lose a pound a month, a pound a week, which I'm not sure will happen, right? But that's one piece of the pie that I'm focused on, of the pie chart that I'm focused on. And that's motivating for me. And so normal range is I keep trying to combine words, is defined by the body mass index chart. And, you look at your height on one side of the chart, and you look at your weight at the top of the chart, and you find where those two things intersect on the chart, and that's your body mass index. And then there's a small little key to the chart that says whether your current body mass index falls into underweight, normal weight, overweight, or obese. So the thing I wanted to mention is it's a good guideline. You'll find this on reputable websites like the Mayo Clinic. I mean, when I look into things, I might read articles from all sorts of websites, but then ultimately I will go back to trusted ones that are from, reputable and respected hospital systems like the Mayo Clinic, or governmental organizations like NIH, the National Institutes of Health, to sort of corroborate, what information I'm reading. And so you can find the body mass index very easily online. And so most people it works for. People it doesn't work for are two groups mainly. That's athletes. And the reason it doesn't work for athletes is because they have a lot more muscle. And muscle does weigh more than fat, right? And so if they chart their height and their weight, they're going to come up with a higher BMI than somebody that didn't have all that muscle. And so you can't look at that and say, well, they're not healthy just because they fall into the overweight, and maybe some of them fall into the obese category according to this chart. But it's because of their muscle mass, so that's not really representative of their health. And then the other group is on the other end, which are either elderly people or people with health conditions that cause their muscles to atrophy. And so those people have less muscle weight and less muscle mass, and therefore less muscle weight. And so they're going to fall into a lower category, than they should. So they might fall into the underweight, even though they are in other ways, they might be in a healthy range if you put back in the muscle weight that they should have. And unless you're doing something like we're all doing here, in this program, not maybe all, but hopefully at some point you all get into working your muscles. Unless you're doing something like that, it's just a natural progression or regression that we lose muscle mass, as we age. So that's one of the reasons it's so important to incorporate muscle conditioning, right, into your exercise. I'd say the very most important thing that you can do as you age for exercise is walking, and hopefully you're still in a position to be able to do that, because that's the most important. It's just to keep movement going, and the guideline for cardio as we age is really do an activity that raises your heart rate for at least 30 minutes most days of the week is how it's phrased, And so strolling, as a walk is movement, and that's better than not strolling, that's better than not taking a walk every day. But if you wanted the health benefit of walking, the next level up would be to make sure that you're going fast enough to raise your heart rate, whether that's taking a walk outside or whether that is walking on your treadmill, and if you say those are boring as heck, I don't want to do those, it could be marching in place. It has to be something that raises your heart rate that you do 30 minutes a day, quote unquote, most days of the week. But that's for cardio. And that's going to obviously, keep your muscles developed to some extent. But the next level up, to maintain strength and to maintain some muscle mass, would be to do a weight workout of some sort that, meets your current condition. And then you just build up as you become more and more conditioned. And so for most of us, this body mass index chart is a perfectly fine guideline to go by. And the reason it's important is because, health-wise, many health conditions, heart conditions, lung conditions, diabetes, are associated with being overweight, So that's the big plus for getting yourself down to the quote-unquote normal range on this BMI chart. The big plus is hopefully you are contributing to the health of your body. Obviously, we all have lived long enough at this point. Most people in this program have lived long enough that they know that that's not the only factor. These are the factors we can control. And then there's other genetic factors that might be out of our hands. There are certain ones that are going to happen no matter what we do. You hear about really, really healthy people having, a heart attack and dying immediately. It's just sometimes those things happen for genetic reasons. But that's at the very far end, right, of the range. And then you've got in the middle, you've got genetic predispositions, that maybe you're predisposed to certain conditions because of your genetics, but if you took made different choices and made different lifestyle changes, you'd increase your odds of not having that condition, right? And then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got the activities that you can choose to do that give you better overall health by doing them, such as cardio exercise or muscle conditioning, drinking more water, eating a healthier diet that's filled with nutrients and vitamins, cutting back on things that are sugar filled and carb loaded that are, not healthy carbs that have a lot of fiber. Obviously, eating a lot of fiber is helpful. There's a lot of things that we can do that will give us not only a longer life potentially, but also the quality of life, while we're here. And so those are the kinds of things that I'm focused on. Yeah, has it been conditioned in my brain that standing on a scale and seeing a lower number is good? Of course it has. So I'm not saying that's not motivational to me, but I'm saying the big payoff is a longer life and a higher quality of life, and that's what I want for you, however you get there and however small or large the steps are that you take to get there. The goal is to do it in a way that you're being successful with the whole theme being do what works, and what works for me might be different than what works for you. But if we're all working toward what works for ourselves, then we're all moving toward a healthier, lifestyle and a hopefully longer future together. We're all on the journey together, right? So I hope that you have a super day today. I know I plan to. I was a little groggy at the beginning, but I think it's picked up. I think this walk has actually helped. So I hope that you have a good day, and I'm going to talk with you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.